Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, how do you say S-Y-R-U-P? Ahoy.
Ahoy, Captain.
What is new?
Oh, not a lot. Enjoying my last full week of not being at work. So
sorry.
That's right. It's always the first couple days are always the worst because those are the longest meeting days generally.
Yeah.
And so those are the roughest ones. But it'll be all right. Probably. We do have a new superintendent, so it might be even longer than normal. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you have something to look forward to.
I guess so. I call it that.
It is something, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Terminology there.
I really don't want to go unstack all the rest of the boxes in my classroom. That's not really a very pleasing thing, but
but it's something to do. See?
Yeah, it's just not a fun thing to do.
Well, that's true.
But
can't help you.
So there's I'm not very good at all those little. I'm not a detail person, right?
Yes. Hello. Same.
Same. The beginning of the year is always really hard for me because you have to do all these little minute things, and you have to focus on these all these little tiny details and do all that stuff. And I'm not real great at that. I just sort of do the stuff. So it's a struggle to get through all the little minutia and here's some more paperwork to fill out, and here's a meeting to go to here's a new little thing to do, blah blah blah.
Oh man,
teach some science. That's just what I want to do. Come on.
So yeah, I am in the middle of with this. I was working with the state of Missouri. I had the state retirement thing where every month they took out a certain percentage, and then they also had a deferred comp, which was an additional way to save on top of what was automatically taken out of your paycheck.
Oh yeah, the extra that you put. Yeah,
which I don't know. I'm just can't you just take out a more percentage and put it why just only take out 4% and then have me save more over here? Why not just put it all into one account and then earn more interest on it? Wouldn't that be a better whatever? I don't make.
You would think so.
So what I have here is now I've got these two different accounts, and I'm well, I no longer work for you guys. And they go, oh, that's fine. You can just roll over this into an existing account. I'm great. I have an existing account. I cannot begin to describe to you the amount of paperwork and signatures that I have to do to quote unquote just roll this over. The other option is just to leave it there. And I'm maybe I just want to leave it there. I'll tell you, anytime I get paperwork and there's something where I have to sign it in front of a notary, I immediately will not do it for the next 3 years. And I say that jokingly.
Well, that's because that's a whole extra terrible thing to have to deal with. What the heck?
It took us 2 years to get NOAA added to our trust because it said we had to do it in front of a notary, and I was no, I'm never doing that.
That is rough.
Yeah, and oh no. So anyway, we've got to. Oh, and I've got to get paperwork from the new from the one that I'm rolling it into. So I've got to get paperwork from them, and I've got to sign the paperwork from the one that I'm rolling it out of. Get them both signed by a notary, and get it signed by the financial advisor that's in charge of the other place. have like say like yes, it's okay for them to do this, and then my signature is like yes, it's okay for them to do this, and you give them this money and they'll take this money, and it's like talk about details. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to not.
That does sound gross. So I don't.
Yeah, never change anything.
Blame
It's
you for
better
that.
if you don't. Hey, pop question.
True.
The sugary liquid, and this is for you too, Aaron. Sugary liquid that you pour on top of pancakes is called what?
Syrup?
I also call it syrup.
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
Syrup?
Syrup or syrup?
Okay, it is.
What?
It is syrup. It's a sear. You sear it. SYR. Megan says syrup too. Like it's an SUR. Maybe that's just a Midwest thing. I don't really know.
So Megan is right. Good job, Megan.
No,
tell him.
If you go to the dictionary online thingy, it says how do you pronounce it? It says syrup. I am right.
Listeners in Vermont and or Canada, please help us understand how to pronounce this.
I am in desperate need.
I have only ever heard it called syrup. I have never heard anybody in any form in any media say syrup.
Are you serious?
No.
What? Come on. No, really. What? Like,
First of all, I don't generally like it. This is a word that does not come up in my daily life.
Okay. Well.
Right. I don't like it's just not a thing. Like I don't eat pancakes or waffles, and so I don't use this particular condiment like ever. So the occasional French toast, maybe, but like that's like I don't eat it. But it's maple syrup.
Syrup. You say
right.
Syrup, not syrup. Okay. Anyway,
yeah.
We eat so the kids love pancakes and eggs, so we get that relatively frequently when we can. And I don't know, for some reason I really cued into it. I think Lillian had said, "Can you pass me the syrup?" And I was like, "The what?" And Megan was like, "Yeah, the syrup." Like, who are you people? What are you doing here in my life? So, well, Megan will feel vindicated in that she's not the only one that says syrup.
The only thing I can think of at the top of my head, the only place I've heard it is called syrup, is in an epic rap battle of history, and I assume that was just to make it rhyme better with the rest of the thing. So, like, I don't.
You know what? It may have been.
Which is a great episode, by the way. Yes, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, right. You can. But yeah, I just sort of figured that it was like to make it rhyme, because I just do that in rap songs. I just assume, because like often you're like, that's not how you say. Oh, never mind. I have to make it fit, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah, I have that with other words though, like the word archetype, right? Archetypal.
Yeah.
That's how I pronounce this. I just recently it's come up in some videos and some stuff that I've been watching, and they called it archetype, and I was like, what?
Oh,
what?
No.
Why'd you say that?
No. Archetype. No.
Do you say archetypal, archetypical? Like what are you? So I don't
go to the architect. They only build curves. Like I don't know what.
Yeah. So like that was another one. There was another one too that I heard yesterday, and I can't remember it now. But I heard it, and I was like, "What? What? Are you?"
Oh,
huh?
The one. I don't know why I have no idea why this one has been coming up on a lot on like news reports, but the Seychelles Islands.
Yeah.
Hearing some news reporters try and say this name is very interesting to me. First off, if you know you're going to be reading some things on the air, why would you not look them up ahead of time or ask somebody? But I guess
this is what I tell my sixth graders. They don't listen to me either, but I tell them that.
I'm like, those words that you always read, but you've never had to say aloud.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good example of that, but maybe
like I thought that might be why I heard somebody say archetypal.
Yes.
Right. Because it's kind of spelled that way, but like I've never heard it pronounced like that ever. So like I think the people that I heard say that have just only read it ever.
Exactly.
And they never took English class. Or were asleep, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I mean, those kind of words where you're like, I wish I had a better example off the top of my head. But
yeah, I can't remember the other one that like I heard it the other day and it was jarring because I was like, what? What are you like? I was even like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, that's that. Why did you say it that way? Yeah. I'm going to have to write these down. But
yeah, I think that may be a challenge of come up with the words where you like, oh man, I have one literally right on the tip of my tongue. This will come to me. It's not oscilloscope. It's something along those lines though, where anyway, where it's like two different ways that you could say it. And it's definitely one of those things of like, oh, this is a word that somebody's only ever read and never actually said out loud. But whatever. It was just I just had that moment at the table, like looking around, being like, am I the crazy one? Like, am I like what? Which happens to me more often these days than not, I guess. But
that's true.
It was just one of those.
Yeah. Or they've only ever heard like an English person say it. You're like, what? What's a zebra? Oh, okay, I see.
Exactly. I don't know what. While we're at this, I do have to read a few things on the record. Do you like cat, excavator, and favorite fifth ice cream? I want to ask you all what you think those are in reference to.
So I was very confused earlier today. I was like, you're like, ignore this. And I was like, what? You drew my attention to it and now I can't ignore it. What are you talking about?
I guess Megan and I do that to each other all the time where we need to remember to bring something up to the other person later, but we don't want to forget it. So we'll just preference the text message with ignore.
Okay.
And then give the thing that we need to remember for later. Sorry about that.
That would have been some nice context to know before like the really cryptic thing. And then I asked you what, and then there was like no response for hours. I was like, what the heck? I don't.
No,
whatever.
So at approximately, I don't know, 4:43, 4:44, I told the kid that I was going to be recording Oh Brother tonight. And Lillian asked me.
I was gonna say, are this a Lily recommended topics episode?
No, well, she said, "What's the title?" And I said, "Well, we find out the title when we're done. What do you think the title should be?" And she said, "Do you like cats?" And then Noah said the title should be Excavator. And then Lillian said,
"Of course he did.
What is your fifth favorite ice cream?" Which I thought was a pretty good deep cut. And
it's a good deep cut.
Pretty well done as far as previous topics.
See, she really understands the premise of the show very well. This is very nice.
I think she really nailed the. I was very proud.
Yeah. In that vein, however, Shayna definitely asked somebody the other day what their third favorite ice cream was. So
perfect.
Boom.
Starting a thing. It's a thing. A real
thing.
Right.
We'll have to put it on a t-shirt. Right. Just like
merchandise. Third favorite. What's your third favorite ice cream? I just really enjoy that kind of question because you really have to think hard about that. Like it catches people off guard and you go, wait, what? Like I don't know. I love those kind of.
Yeah, no, I like it too. It's good
around a topic because it really starts showing like what you start valuing or how you start prioritizing things. Because if you just say what's my favorite, it shows you know, like you're not pitting anything against another, but having to communicate your way down to third place. I love it.
Well, you also have to think about it because normally you have like an answer for your favorite. Right. And you just sort of like rattle it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't have an answer like premeditated for what's your third favorite ice cream. So it's a nice like, here we go. If we have to do any of those weird icebreaker things when we go back to work, I'm going to use that. I'm going to bust it out and say,
yes. I think it's the new one. You should say, ahoy. What is your third favorite ice cream? And they
ahoy. We'll put ahoy on a shirt too. Surely that word's not trademarked or anything. We'll get that on there for you.
I don't see why it would be.
You never know. Chips Ahoy might come after you. Just don't make it blue. All right. Exactly. It's got a different color palette. Right. Different font. Kid, don't use the like wavy font.
No. What it's called. Yeah. Oh, so big week for anybody?
There you go. Oh, I was going to add another addendum. I thought about this.
Yes. Okay.
I thought about this. And to save being haunted forever by the spirit of our grandmother, I decided golf can be a sport.
Good choice.
Because I thought about this more. Golf is just a race. Right? You're just getting to the hole first. So golf is like the world's slowest race. So I think to make golf more exciting, you really need to play up this racing aspect of it, like speed golf. I want to play some speed golf. Mm-hmm. Golf carts become very important in speed golf, by the way. Sorry, golfing purists out there. Golf is so boring to me. But like I decided when I was sitting there thinking about it, I was like, wait, no, it is a race, right? It's just a race.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting to the hole first. So even though you do the score all weird and you're not like going by points, it's a race.
It is, yeah.
So
in a very different. It's also weird because you don't typically think of it like that because your group advances at the same rate, right?
Yeah.
Like you have your tee time.
And it takes like multiple hours to do this. Like it's the slowest thing in the world. But it is a race.
The same 3 people, the same 2 other people, whatever. Like a tournament for 4 people, right? Like at the same pace. But you're right. If you just let people go individually, that'd be awesome. All 50 people line up,
just one at a time.
No, at the same time, and have to and hit their ball. And then they have to go get it. And then it's like color coded and stuff. So they've got to then find it and then just keep hitting their ball. And to get it, and then the key component.
No caddies. You just got to run.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Pick your so now strategy time. Like, just like, do you bring the whole bag or do you just snag, like, do you do that thing where you snag like 5 golf clubs or 4 clubs and you go for it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
boom.
I think integrating the golf cart is very key to this because then we can get some rally racing involved in this.
I feel like 50 is too much for golf carts though, because then you'll just be like jam full of golf cart. Right. Wow. And there's literally nowhere to hit the ball because it'll just be a fairway chock full of golf carts.
Maybe we'll just do 10 at a time. Maybe we'll do 10 at a time with 5 rounds and you get to do some derby racing with the golf cart. That's what this actually is. It's a derby race with some golf thrown in.
There you go. And making golf better.
I like it.
PGA, we look forward to
cross country golf. Right. You have to like
Yes.
This way you also don't have to worry about like mowing so much. Right? That's good.
Yeah. And
less mowing.
Spectators will love, turning the fairway into an actual like race track. I mean, the fans.
Yeah, this is much more exciting.
We see this on races all the time with them, right next to them as they're coming down and doing the rally stages with golf carts. And I've seen some pretty amazing golf carts very recently.
It'd be like, that's true. In your neighborhood stroll,
exactly.
They're already swanky, right? This will be like the Strada Bianchi to the a normal like bicycle road race, right?
Mhm.
Like roads are boring. How about gravel forever? Like, okay, all right.
Yeah. See how many golf carts we can see with full flex suspensions and independent rear suspensions and
Definitely.
all wheel drive with some beefy tires on them to get them going up and
No, you need to make it like you could have divisions, right? Like
Yes.
the those weird like like the stock and like the super modified. Like, yeah, I'm doing some super modified golf today. Like what? What?
Sorry, what? Yeah. Runs on.
You could also make all the fairways like all the holes longer, right? To make it more exciting.
We don't need
like if you're gonna do like this,
holes.
like no more, like par 7, right? You really got to stretch this out a little bit. Like
I'm saying, if you have an 18-hole course, you can just condense it down to like 5 holes. 5 holes, but they're really far apart and like
they're really long.
Really long. Exactly.
But it's like a race course. You still have to go down one and then turn around. You can't like cut over, right? You have to like like a motocross track, right? You have to like go down and it loops back and then like
exactly. See, this is what I'm talking about. And you've got plenty of acreage there, like hundreds of acres in some of these places to really use the space well.
There you go.
They're very underutilized, and it really brings the fans into the aspect of this and keep it going.
Yeah. I think we're on something here.
Okay.
Feel like this could be exciting.
Very dangerous. Lots of lawsuits.
That's true. You have to have like fan areas, right? Like maybe not full blown rally special stage where they're just like, I'm gonna stand right on the side of the road and cheer on this charging Subaru. Like, maybe step back from the road. All right, maybe
one step, just one.
Maybe step back a little bit. Like those things make me so nervous to watch those. Like, especially the ones from like the 80s.
Where they're just out there chain smoking in the middle of the road.
They're just like in the road and like, here comes the car. Here comes the Audi. Like, oh God. Oh no.
Kodak is going away. And then they kind of just turn and nonchalantly skirt out of the road right as it blitzes past their sport jacket.
Oh yeah. Some of those highlights are nuts. You see like a Lancia just like full slide around the corner and there's just like a dude standing there. Like, oh no. And the driver's basically just like, well, I'm going to trust that he's going to move because I'm in full opposite lock right now and I can literally do nothing. So,
or that's the line.
And I'm in this Lancia. So if I take my foot off the gas, I will spin in a circle. Like it's just going to happen.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, that's what, they're waiting. They've got the line that they need at the speed that they're going. And there's not a whole lot different they can do once they're in that.
Yeah. Once you're in there. Once you're in the slide, you're in. You're not coming out of that. It's bad news. I haven't shown Susan either because she gets very nervous when we watch the Tour de France on the climbs and they're like patting the riders on the back. She just sits there and goes, "Get out of the way! What are you doing?"
Oh, that would make me so angry. I'm up there.
She doesn't like it.
Doing it. Exerting everything that I possibly can. If someone is literally standing there patting me on the back, I'd lose it. I would lose it.
You'd really lose it if you got like a camera bag hooked over your straps or whatever. Like, was that Nibali that happened to? I don't remember. Somebody, you got like somebody dipped their handlebar, like they got their stuff caught on his handlebars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's bad. Where somebody got like a flag stuck in their bike one time, like, yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's why they randomly like punch spectators because like, get out of my back.
Yeah. And they're working extremely hard. Anyway, jerk yelling in your face.
It's true.
So, Brandon, you're gearing up for school. Well, both you and Aaron are, right?
I believe it's the official return to learn So unfortunately, your first day of class is when?
So what is it? So Monday is teacher orientation stuff, getting set up, and then open house is Tuesday or Wednesday, and then school starts August 12th.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is now irritated Missouri to start school that early. Because, they had nothing better to do last year. And they were like, oh, hey, we'll arbitrarily make it so you can't start school before this day. Sorry, losers. Like, what?
No, yeah, well,
because our first day is not till the 24th. That's the first day you can start here.
Shelby starts.
So the 12th is actually my first day of meetings and stuff.
Shelby starts August 18th, which is actually her birthday. So she's super thrilled.
Well, hey.
And so she will, she does that. She'll get set up. But we start practice on Monday. We had pictures today. And what else? Yeah. And then new teacher orientation stuff is Monday. And then, school's, open house, and then school starts August 12th.
That's crazy. Do you not have any full staff days with everybody?
Yeah, so that's what August 9th is. That's when everyone kind of gets together and be like, all right, here's what this is, blah 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 blah.
Wow. That's so short. We literally have 2 weeks of that.
Because we had what is it called? New teacher orientation stuff this week. We finished. It was just us new people, new people going to that school. We all just get together and talk about expectations, policy, things like that. And then we're off to the races next week. Pretty much some of the PT days or professional development days. We'll do some of that stuff, but we have a thing every Wednesday where we will have, every Wednesday it'll be like, we'll stay longer. We'll work on some of that stuff. But in the later months, I can't remember which month it is, but we won't have school on Fridays. We'll slowly transition into only 4 days a week school. But that won't be the norm, which might be the norm next year. But right now we'll still do kind of, this, that, or the other. And then, so we actually have a lot of days off.
Okay.
But they're all like professional development days. Like that.
Okay. Yeah. We don't have a ton of PD days during the year.
Yeah.
We have a bunch at the beginning. And then we just have a few, which is actually, I like it better. Because in the middle of the year, there's not a lot to do on a PD day. Really. They're like, hey. And then we do that thing every Monday morning for an hour.
Yeah.
We have learning team time or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of stuff then.
That's kind of what it's going to be, where we'll all kind of get together in our little groups and then kind of go about our own things. But the first stuff is, this, that, and the other. And then it's like, all right, go and get, working on your room or go work in your classroom, kind of thing. And so once we do that, but school starts. Thank you. School starts, next week. And then a week or two after that, we got our first football game. So
yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, it's a very condensed schedule. I do like that we have so many PD days at the beginning, because, like you said, we have a lot of them. Or at least last year we did. I don't know about new boy what he's gonna do, but last year, the first few days were all day doing all kinds of stuff, and then the second week it was all the meeting stuff in the morning, and then after lunch was just you can be in your classroom now.
And
that's what I need. I need that.
What kind of most of it's going to be is like, all right, hey, we're going to work on this. And then, all right, go and spend the rest of the day in your class. It is kind of nice because at this school, at the last school, they're like, well, you need X amount of professional development days, but you need to do some of that stuff like on your own. Here, they actually provide, so we don't have to like.
Our school does that too, which is nice.
They have built in. That's kind of like it would be kind of nice to go out, but like some of the coaching clinics that I've already been to, those count. That's actually kind of nice. Yeah, I don't have to worry about having to truck somewhere and sit there for a few hours on things that I'm not going to have fun with. So
yeah, that's true. I'm not about that life. I as previously stated on the show, I think several times, like teacher, the things that the like PD day things that are run by teachers at alternate locations are terrible because the people that do it are like so not my personality type, right? That I can't deal with it. It hurts me. Like all the pep and the happiness and the like energy. I'm like, what? You need to stop.
So
I don't want to be part of any of those. I like to do all my stuff by myself. If I have to do stuff, I do it online.
So let me ask you a question real quick. What is your? I don't even know what the word is called. What is kind of your take on kind of like? I think down here it's called open teaching or non-traditional teaching. What is? I asked that question. I'll wait for you to respond, and then I'll give you the example of why I'm bringing that up. So, what is your interpretation on kind of like open teaching? Open classroom. Sorry.
What does that mean?
No, go ahead. Go.
I don't know what that means. So I'm a bad teacher because like vernacular and like names of things, I have no idea what they mean. So like you can hit me with all that stuff and I'm like, what? I don't
exactly.
I don't know what it's called.
What is your interpretation of what you think that is?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what open teaching is called.
Hold on.
That's a weird name.
I took a bite of something. Hold on. No.
That's fair. I don't I don't know what I would call that.
So
that's a weird name.
That may not be actually what it's called.
That's fair, but
I will, to be completely honest, I don't know the teacher's name. But my school a few years ago got a grant where they kind of revamped the entire system, which was needed because they didn't really have a lot, but they gave opportunities and things for teachers to kind of develop more. I don't even know, like modern teaching habits. So I was setting up my classroom, and a teacher in question, came by and introduced, and I go, hello. And then I went into their classroom. This teacher has no desks, no whiteboard, no TV, or anything like that. And so I was sitting there, I was like, what is this? And all she has is couches in her classroom.
Would you like to give them a live announcement?
Oh.
There's teaching test period.
Wait, hold
on. Breaking news update, ladies and gentlemen.
You're alternatively certified.
So I am officially alternatively certified. My wonderful staff secretary just notified me that I passed my second teaching certification test. So,
all right.
By 2 points. Let's go.
Hey, doesn't matter. All right.
So yeah, I guess I'm officially alternatively certified. Thank you.
Live.
Kind of forgot about that. I just need 2 more tests to take, and then I will be completely certified. But as of the moment, I am alternatively certified, which is very bueno. But yeah, she has no desks, no chairs. It's just couches and floor carpet.
Okay.
And I was like,
this makes sense now.
So what is this? And she's like, well, I'm just going for a more open, vibrant school where I'm just, kids are going to have clipboards and they're going to teach, or they're going to, what did she say? Go by their own speed, and they are going to learn. But I'm not going to teach with them. I'm going to be with them, and it gives them more movement. I'm like, I don't. I mean, I would like to have a couch in the classroom, but that's not what I was expecting. So that it may be called something else, but that is my interpretation of what's called open classroom teaching.
Okay.
Where
this makes
it is
sense.
non-traditional. I guess non-traditional is the better terminology.
Okay. So I will say, okay, now that I have a better idea of what you're talking about, I don't really know how I feel about her like not teaching them stuff, and like that's a little bit weird. It depends on what does she teach.
Well, she will still be teaching, but it won't be like in the traditional manner of like going to a whiteboard or like this is the lesson. So she teaches math.
Okay.
Middle school math.
Okay. So I still think that you need to have whiteboard, TV, smart something, because you have to have, in my opinion, you need examples of things, right, to look at, to do stuff, especially math. That's weird. Yes. Also, I need that stuff because we do a lot of like alternative things like presentations and other stuff like that, like skits and things, and we need to display our thing that we made. Right? So we have to do that. But the seating thing, so that my friend did that in her classroom. She had alternative seating. She had a mixture of tables with chairs, a couch. She had a pub table almost with like high chairs. She had like a standing desk or two with a stool, for when you get tired. Some of those like bouncy ball seat things. Like she had a mix of all this stuff. So they could sit wherever they wanted to, where they were comfortable.
Yeah.
You really have to have like extremely on point classroom management for discipline in that environment, because it's very different, and your classroom management has to be on point to deal with that amount of chaos that you're creating by just being like sit wherever, right?
Yeah.
So being able to keep kids on task, focused on the things that you want them to do while doing that can be extraordinarily challenging. What I do in my classroom is I kind of do I think about like hybridized approach, right? So I have all my desks in my row. Boom. So a lot of times during science, we sit there. Anytime we're doing like direct instruction, we're at our desk, right? Desk, board. Boom, done. Anytime the kids are working on stuff, so if it's like whatever the assignment is, so reading assignment, project assignment, anything, they do not have to sit at their desk anymore.
Yeah.
I have like a bench. I have some tables with just like those normal like plastic brown school chairs, right? I have a couple of big soft chairs that I bought last year from a teacher who was leaving.
Yeah.
She was like, does anybody want these? Yes, me, please give me those. So I bought them from her. I have set up like alternate seating areas in my classroom that we sit at when we're working on stuff, either independently or in a partner situation. Right. So that's kind of how I do it, because I do agree with the like, I also have like carpet squares,
Yeah.
like pillows, like throw pillows, like just like outdoor pillows, from like the Walmart. Just buy like outdoor deck pillows and they can sit on those. That's fine.
Oh, nice.
But I have like a carpet and that stuff. So I agree that it's nice. Some kids really want to sit somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
They need that alternate environment. Like some kids just want to lay on the floor and read. their paper. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. Some people, when they do their PowerPoints or whatever, they just like stretch out on the floor and have their iPad and they just go to town, Cool. I don't care. During certain assignments, like they can listen to music on if they have headphones, because I don't want to hear their terrible taste in music, right? They're awful. But like, I don't care. If they're working on like a PowerPoint or like a Google Slides or whatever, I don't care if you listen to music. That's fine. If you're reading, no.
Yeah.
But like, so I started doing more of that last year. I kind of do that because like it mixes things up. You can sit wherever you want. It makes it easier if it's a partner assignment, that just generally makes it easier because you can sit by them, But it is tricky to keep everybody on task when you do this, because naturally when you're 12, you just want to sit next to your friend regardless of whether they're going to work or not. So we do a lot of talking about like seating choices, expectations during work time, and like some classes, you just kind of have to see how it goes. Like some classes, okay, you guys cannot do that right now because it doesn't work out for you. Like you have, you're not getting your stuff done. You're not doing it. So you're just going to sit right here at your desk only. Done. But other classes, they ever kind of read the room, right? See how it goes a few times. But I do that. I find it helps them work. It makes it a little more enjoyable. Plus, it gets them up, moving around. Because you got to sit in a desk in all the other classes a lot of times. So like, move them around. Lay out on the floor. I don't care. As long as you're doing your work, it's fine with me. So, it is hard. But yeah, I like the seating idea. I don't really know about the no screen or no whiteboard. I need my screen and whiteboard. Just because like I use my whiteboard for, I don't teach off my whiteboard, but like I write important stuff there. We use it for all kinds of stuff. So like I need that in my life.
Okay. I just wanted to get your take. Like I am all for, alternative seating, but some of the other stuff was a little weird. And so I just kind of wanted to see that, like, what your take on it was.
Yeah. I do sometimes, like on some of my projects or some of my things that I want them to make for me, like my slideshows, or like if they have to create something, I will like, it's hard to know. Like sometimes I give them like very specific examples. Right. And and especially at the beginning of the year, I'm like, here's a thing that I made. You can use this as a template, blah, blah, blah. Right. And that kind of gets some kids used to, like, I just put one in Google Classroom, like as a one they can't edit or whatever. And they just look at it and say, oh, okay, I see how you did that. And it helps them make sure they have all the parts and everything like that. Some of the assignments I leave intentionally vague. Like the directions are much more vague because I want them to come up with something to put there. Like I will not give such explicit directions because I want them to be, especially in science, right? Problem solving and thinking a little bit more about the process instead of just like copying a list of directions. So it depends on the assignment. You kind of got to pick and choose your thing there. But
okay.
It could be cool. So yeah, I do like the alternative seating, even if it's just like, hey, you guys can sit on the floor if you want. Like, start small.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, hey, I want you guys to read. Today we're just going to read this chapter in the book and do some short answer questions, but you can sit wherever you want in the room today. But here's what I expect. Okay. I expect you to sit. If it's a by yourself assignment, I expect you to be sitting a reasonable distance away from other people. I expect you to be on task. And if you can't handle that, then you will come back to your seat. Boom. Done. Like, It's nice that you have an escape to go, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of afraid to do the full blown like alternate seating because then there's no place to go back to.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, sometimes we need our desks to do stuff. So like, I don't want to get rid of them. Plus, I have the nice desks on the floor, so like I don't want to get rid of them either. They're a hot commodity.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, it can be cool, but you got to be real on top of it. You definitely got to be a mobile teacher, right?
Mhm.
If you're going to be doing that, like you can't be like I'm going to hang it on my desk and type this thing while the kids are working. If they're doing that, you really got to be a mobile person, like observing everything. So that when you're like, oh, that doesn't look like history on that iPad, give me that. Boom, this is mine now.
I got you.
Yeah. So it can be cool, but you kind of got to be on it if you're going to do that. So, but the kids do seem to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
That little bit of freedom to, kind of pick their seed and do whatever. So it can be cool. Again, I need my screen, man. How are we gonna watch sweet science videos if I don't have a screen to play them on? Right? Come on.
Yeah, you can't have everybody can't cast out to everybody's iPads and have them watch simultaneously.
Yeah, that's a little harder. It's like, hey guys, check this out. Boom. Like, here's my video. Some of it's in my presentation, like, oh, we're gonna watch this thing. Pow. Go for it. So, and I kind of think about like, sorry, listeners, this might be boring, but like, I think about like when we do like notes, because we do a lot of note taking in science, and like I've said this before too, we do that for two reasons. Number one, we are practicing learning how to take notes because they have never done it before. Really, they do it a little bit in fifth grade, but like in sixth grade, we're learning about how we take notes from the board and that kind of stuff. So we're really kind of practicing that. And there's so much new stuff, right? A lot of this stuff is brand new. Right. And so we really need to do that and then like have those notes, have those class discussions, have all that stuff to gather that knowledge before we can do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of knowledge building that has to happen. So like, I like the desks for that because we're all here. I can see you all. We're all together in this area. And like for me, even just for me of how I handle the classroom and how I do stuff, like I need that structure we are building this, to use my teacher term here, schema, right? Because we don't have any science schema, like none. So, when we're in this environment, it's helpful if we're all together so we can all talk to each other and we can all see the pictures on the board and, take the few notes that we're going to take or watch this video about this topic. And so we can have that and discuss and do all that stuff together. So I'm real big on discussion and stuff. So like, I need that. I like that environment for that because we do have to have all of that new information before we can take it and then do our project or do our experiment or do our investigation or whatever, right? We need a lot of background. So that's why I mix it up that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So it's fun to also play with the space a little bit. Like, can kind of, get everybody spread out. They can kind of do their own thing. And it also helps make like, then when they're that way, right? When they're further apart, it makes it easier for me sometimes to come around and do like little, I just talk to them about their assignment. Like, hey, I was like mini conferencing, real informal stuff, but like little conferences like, oh, hey, do you need help? Or, that we can just talk about stuff that they don't get, right? Or if they're confused or struggling, then it's easier to have one-on-one conversations if they're spread out. You can just kind of keep roving around and talking to them and doing a lot of stuff. So that's another positive of that. You can get down and help them or talk to them if they have a question, or just check in on them and all that kind of stuff. So it makes it easier to do that too. Instead, sometimes they don't want to, especially the beginning of the year, like they don't want to ask you questions because some kids are still like, oh, now I have to know, But I'm like, why would you know this? Have you ever done this before? I don't expect you to know the answer. It's okay if you need help. It's fine. It's okay. Like,
yeah.
So, especially when they're not used to that, it kind of helps them get in the mood because they'll talk to you more if they're a little separated. It's a little more private conversation. So they don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to ask for help. Like, it's literally my job. Please ask for help. Like, that's why I'm here. So come on now.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the long answer to that.
I enjoyed
it. I did too.
Plus, it gives you more room to build things in science, which always good, right? Boom.
Well,
so all right.
We have a main topic this week.
That's true. It is not pedagogy. Spoilerinos.
Oh, there's a wonderful word. Get back looping this back around, and then we'll get to our main topic. I really promise.
I always
pronounce it pedagogy.
Same. But
you just said pedagogy.
Because I didn't know what that word meant.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway,
that's all I've heard. Yeah.
I'm trying to loop stuff together. So, our main topic this week was challenged at the end of last week to bring forward our top 5 favorite Summer Olympic events.
Oh man,
they focused here, and I figured we would kind of do a round robin. I don't know if you guys ranked. Did you guys rank yours, or are they just 5 in general?
Sort of.
Yeah, kind of. I had a real hard time with this because I've been watching like so many Olympics. Because again, this week I have nothing to do, so I've been watching the heck out of them. Okay. And so yeah, I have a rough ranking. It's real hard.
Oh no, so I don't know if you want to do a round robin where we go through and do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll do our things that didn't make our top 5. Or
yeah, no, that's good. I think that's our general format, so we got to stick with the format, right?
Yeah, it's patented, not patented, but it's what we do.
So. Patent pending.
We'll never get it.
I mean, just
so. Yes. So main topic is our top 5. I'm trying to write this down before I forget. Top 5.
Fair.
Fave.
Summer Olympics.
Right.
Stay tuned next year. Top 5 Winter Olympics coming soon. Coming sooner than normal.
Whoa, getting cray up in here. Okay. So before we start, does anybody have any opening comments about what this was like, or your general approach to this?
So my general approach was, it's sort of I feel like this list is specifically for this year, right? This is kind of a list of events that I have enjoyed watching the most this year.
Okay.
Right? Because I feel like some of these are events that I haven't watched that much before this year, just because of the timing and when stuff is on. I haven't watched as much of other events that I would normally watch, or that I have watched in the past. So this is kind of like for this Olympics, these are the things that have interested me the most, and I've been into watching them. I feel like that's kind of what my list represents anyway.
Airman?
Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
When I remember when I was little, like watching the Olympics in general, like it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, these people are world renowned athletes. Like I never like really got into it. The past few years I think it started like with like the Australian Olympics, of how like kind of cool and unique that was, and then like the Beijing Olympics, like, oh, that was different. This year there's been some like of those promo videos for like some of the athletes that have definitely caught me in the feels. And so I've been a little bit more like invested.
Yeah, true.
In this one, like even with like sports, or not even like with USA, just watching like different countries in general, and like hearing those things like, this is the first medal this country has ever won, and you're like, what? So,
oh yeah, I know. I think it's so cool, right?
those things to me are pretty neat. And so mine, I have a feeling some of the things that I have on my list are the same on some of y'all's list. So I might have to have some just in case.
I feel like my list this year is weird.
Well, and I will say,
I feel like it's normal.
This is top 5.
I had to cut out some stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I?
So it's
yeah,
okay.
I have a bunch in like 6, 7, 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's okay if they're the same thing, because it's gonna be fine. So don't feel like you have to cut one out. We're not doing a draft where we're drafting our top 5. It's
true. It's not like you can't pick it if I pick it.
Exactly. So yeah, no, and I'll say for me, I very much approach this from like my fave, but it was a hard time for me to separate out my favorite versus characteristic of like, when I think Summer Olympics, like what am I thinking? What am I watching? What am I engaged in? And
I had that same thing too, right?
So it was really tough, because there's a lot of this like things that I have a historic exposure to versus what I enjoy watching versus like what keeps coming to the top of mind, because obviously there are things that are going to make it into primetime shows for the American audience that they're not showing several events, right, that are not really prime time. So trying to tease out some things of like, do I really like this, or is this like just like a hard nostalgia kick, or is this just what I think of as characteristic? So that was a tough slog to me through this, but I feel like we'll get that teased out as we go. So Brandon, do you want to get us kicked off with your fifth?
Yeah, I'll do that. Before I do that, though, I will say I agree with Aaron and you both. Like, I love watching the Olympics, right? I just really like it, right? I am like, I don't know what it is. Like, this is the one thing in my life where I'm not like a cynical, grumpy man, right? Like, I really like the Olympics. I don't really care about like the medal count, with one addendum to that. That is the inclusion of any athletes from the country of Russia this year. It's just a farce, and it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Anyway.
Wow, we're banned. Okay, well, that was fun.
Yeah, it's fine.
Listeners, it's been great.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a whole weird thing. Anyway, but like I said, I don't really care about the medal count. I'm like Aaron. I'm like, I really like all those stories and like the people that like, oh, this country's like never won a medal here. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, oh, this is the first woman ever from this country to win a medal. That's really rad, right? Like, and I also like how the Olympics does bring light and exposure to sports that are like not on the radar.
Yeah,
a lot of times, right? And it's really odd because, you watch these sports and the announcers and they're talking about like this thing, this like, oh, I placed like 7th in like the world championships last year. And so that means there's a whole like hidden activity event calendar of this sport that I have no idea exists because it's never available for me to watch anywhere. About it before, right? Like, I didn't know they had world championships in that. What? Like, when? Where did they do what? Part of that does come from growing up in middle America where there is like zero anything, right? A lot of these sports do not exist here.
No.
They don't, right? And they probably do now in some capacity, but I don't know where. Right? It's not here where I am. They're not here, which is unfortunate on some level. Like, there's a huge opportunities out there for lots of people to be doing stuff, and they're like hidden away in the shadows. Yeah, so I'll start out after that. I will start with so this is my top 5 that I have enjoyed watching the most this year. Right, just kind of what I've been sucked into, what I've been drawn to, what I've been like, oh, I have to watch this. And the first one, really weirdly, was the Triathlon Relay. It was like new this year, so it was like the mixed Triathlon Relay. And I don't know why, but I thought that was like the greatest thing. I was so into it. Like, I've never watched really a triathlon before. Like, I watch them in the Olympics. Like, I watched the normal one.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have the triathlon relay later. I was like, excuse you?
What?
The what? I had to watch it. I had to. It was awesome. It was so crazy. Like, I really enjoyed that for some reason. I don't really know why. But I just thought it was really cool. Like, the whole idea, the big triathlon, and the four person, because it's a mixed relay. It was really cool. It was really kind of exciting, right? Like, there was lots of movement after a while, you know. It was really cool. It was really fun to watch that. So my 5th one is the triathlon and the triathlon relay.
The relay specifically. Okay.
Yeah. I liked the normal triathlon, but the relay specifically was the thing that I was like, yes.
Yeah. Need more of that. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to watch that one, but no, I think there'll be a theme throughout. So okay. Yeah, Airman.
Yeah, try to find a highlight. They have highlights around. Okay. So see if you can pick up some of these. It was really fun.
So are we doing them like in like no particular order, or is like the 5th one kind of like the meh, or?
Yeah, I'm doing it like that.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of doing a 5 to my number 1 is like the one that I've been most excited about.
Yeah. Okay. So for my number 5 would let's do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I would probably say for my number 5, let's go with. Oh, hold on here. I got to figure out like what it's actually called. I mean, it's called weightlifting. Like the powerlifting stuff.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, like we see, you know, people like, you know, work out, like, oh, people working out. But with like, you know, I kind of think of like the story of the wrestler Kurt Angle, who won the gold medal, like with a broken neck,
yes,
kind of thing. And so like things like that, like even though like
multi-time WWE champion.
Yes, by the way. So, and I mean, like just seeing that to me, like a few years ago, where that Russian, I think it was a Russian, or it was like the German power lifter that like lost his wife like a year ago, and he went on to like win gold medal for the first time in Germany in like several years. Like that was super emotional. It's one of those sports that can get like, you know, one of the things people like, oh, lifting it, like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. But then it's like, oh, it gets into like all these stories and things like that, and like that's kind of what makes it cool. Is, you know, these people's journeys from, you know, oh, I, you know, lifted, you know, weights in a barn when it was like, you know, when we didn't have any equipment to, I am in the Olympics. And also it was kind of more influential because for a lot of my football guys, like they've never had any real like working out, like weightlifting experience. And so trying to tie those in together, showing some of those kids like, hey, you know, this is, you know, this guy doing this certain thing with, you know, this amount of weight, like, is that cool? What was kind of cool for the kids to see. And so getting a chance to tie both of those in together. And plus it's really cool to be like, you can't lift that. Oh, he lifted that. Oh, wow, that's actually really cool. That is a lot more weight than I could fathomably imagine anyone could possibly lift. So for me, like things like that were really cool just to kind of get to watch, get to see, and be involved with. So
yeah. Speaking of weightlifting, shout out to, I'm going to say this name wrong, but this is what I was referring to earlier. Her name is Nacy Holmes. She's the first Ecuadorian woman ever to win a medal at all. And she won the gold in the women's weightlifting in her class. So that's another one of those rad stories. You're like, oh, that's really cool. It's so amazing, right? Like,
Really cool. Yeah.
I apologize, ma'am, if I totally screwed your name up there, but shout out to you for being amazing.
Cool. I will start with
Wow.
my fifth one. Again, all these are kind of weird, but I
It's fair.
I enjoy watching fencing. I have no idea really a lot of how the scoring works, and I'm going to specifically call out saber fencing because it is so lightning fast and they're over really quick. It's like the F1 of the fencing world. And it really is. Like, it's just like intense splat that's done. And it fascinates me that it truly is an art style that has such long history of in cultures and societies around the globe is still being performed to some extent today. And I'll also never forget one of the first times I was able to actually experience fencing was actually on the Missouri State campus on an evening. They were outside. There was a fencing club and they were practicing outdoors. And I was like, walking by, watching people fence, and then the bell tower started going. And so every time I watch it, it is a little bit of a nostalgia thing. But I just really, it's hyper fascinating to me to think of the skill and the precision that goes into that and the history of it too.
Yeah. I never can remember what the different rules are for, was it saber, epee, foil?
In
right?
foil.
Yeah, right. And they all have different rules.
Yes. And different sword types, right? Like,
yes, different physical swords.
The foil is like really thin.
They're a bendy one, right?
They get bulkier as you get the saber, and saber is
saber's the big one.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's kind of the middle, right? Is that how? I don't remember.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. But you're right. Like the different because the swords are different. They have different styles. And then because they have different styles, there's different scoring that goes with them.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I can't keep up with that. And the other thing that is very interesting about fencing is since they've moved to all electronic scoring now, you've got touch pads all over your body, and they sense when the saber or when the foil has touched certain areas. The reaction of fencers whenever it didn't trigger is amazing to watch, and I think that's more.
Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Oh no. You talk about intense people, like the guys that are literally shaking a sword at a judge, and you're like, maybe let's just give him a point.
Put the sword down, man. Come on.
I like the fencing there.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
All right, so 4. All right, 4 was hard. I have it like a tie at 4, kind of.
Nice.
I call this open water paddling events, right? Because I like the rowing.
Yeah.
Right, like the big skull rowing events, and this year I've watched a lot of the kayak racing, like the open water kayak and canoe. It's fascinating. It's so crazy, right? They're like I've watched it all. I just can't it's like the sprint, like the 500-meter kayak racing.
They're all
like it's like whap, and then there's like the really long one, and there's a 4-person kayak apparently. Like what? I didn't know that existed. So that it's just been really cool to watch. Like both those disciplines, right? I know they're very different, right? I know that rowing and like the kayaking and the canoeing. I've been watching that too. I didn't know that was a thing either. So open water paddling is what we're gonna call this. I only really knew about rowing before.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by those rowboats, the sculls, right? I've always wanted to try one.
Oh, I know.
Right. Just because they look really fun. Susan and I were talking about that. Like, I want to try that.
Yes.
Like, not fast, obviously, but like, I just want to sit in one and see how it goes. Right. Even just like the little single person one, right? Like the one man skull thing. Like, I just want to try that. It looks so cool. Like, it's really neat looking, right? I just like, that's really cool. But then when you go you have the boat facing the other direction, right? Those kayakers, oh my gosh, some of them go so fast, like so fast. And then like the doubles, I didn't know there was kayak doubles. I definitely didn't know there was quad kayaking. Holy cow, that's insane.
I had no idea.
They put that up to the line. I was like, the what? Excuse you? And then like the canoeists, there's like solo and tandem canoeing where they're like kneeling on that thing. And first of all, I'm going, my hip is going to give out looking at you paddling like that right now. That's impressive. Like that's just it's just really interesting and cool to watch. These athletes are crazy. Like their body strength for this discipline is so intense. Like I can imagine, like, oh, you can't imagine. You can see some of their shoulders. You're just like, oh my God, what? So I've been really enjoying the open water paddling section of this. Okay. I'm going to lump all those rowing disciplines together. Do not be offended, rowers out there. I just like them all, and I couldn't decide which one to put, so I just put them all together.
Sure.
Let's see here. So one of the, I guess for 4, which one to pick? I'm going to pick. It's called. It's the skating series where kind of what Brandon was talking about, like with the rowing stuff. Like this is like skateboard type activities, and the one that kind of really caught my eye, I think it was more so for like the people that we were watching, but it's called free skate, and it's like the skaters like pretty much get like what is it called, a rink pretty much to themselves, and then they just get like a time limit, and they have to do X amount of things in that time, and whatever they get is what they get. And so it's just kind of fun to watch what transpires in like 3-second time, or not 3 seconds, but just kind of a minute and a half or whatever, like just to get like you have this amount of time to do as many tricks as possible. And I watched it really late, so I was trying to remember like all that kind of happened because we were working out in the little gym, and it just like came on, and I was like, I'm sorry, what is this called? And we watched it, and just like it introduced, but it was the one thing that really kind of caught my eye. It was a women's free skate, and it was kind of like the companionship that everyone kind of had. Like there was no like it wasn't those classic like 1980s like America versus the Soviet Union thing, and like I must break you. Like everyone was just like cheering everybody on. It was, that sense of, hey, we're doing this together, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was kind of cool because that's not at all what I was originally expecting. With the Olympics, everyone's out to get everybody, and like, I am here to win, blah. And so it was kind of a unique experience to watch because, I've seen, skating before. I've seen, all that kind of things, but it was just a different experience of just watching people get to do that on that level. So it was unique. I liked it. I would watch it again. I don't know if I could watch it like just not in the Olympics. It has to be like in the Olympic setting. Just to be like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But it was just something that was like, what is this? What is this called? Like, oh, and then like it's one of those sports within like a few minutes of like watching it, you're like cheering for the people, like even if you don't know how, like if you have no idea what's going on, it's just like, oh, this is really cool because this person. And then you're like, who's your favorite person? Like, I don't know that one. So I liked it. It was fun. It was different for sure. And so that's kind of the main staple that kind of made me watch it. And I was like, oh, this is actually like really cool. Like I was not expecting this level of coolness to happen. And so yeah, that was kind of my number 4. It's interesting.
Yeah, that was one that didn't quite make my list. But can we talk about for a second how young some of those ladies are that were out there?
There was a lady that was like 14.
Yeah.
Maybe
like 13. There's some 13-year-olds out there shredding like hardcore. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really neat to see them out there at that level.
Yeah. I watched the park where they have like the stairs and the rails and stuff, and also the wait, I don't remember. Then they called the other one park, but that was one was in like the big bowl skating.
Yeah.
That one was awesome. Like yeah, nice pick. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
My number 4 is track cycling. Specifically, I couldn't choose, but mostly I really like the Omnium. The Pursuit is also fun, but I enjoy the Omnium because of the different stages that you go through in the race. Like it's 4 races in one, and so you kind of play to strengths of like physicality, but also of strategy in that. And it's basically sprinting like constantly. And who doesn't love watching people sprint nonstop?
True.
So I just, as far as like action, and again, one of those things of like, you don't get to really see it at this stage or at this level year round. Like you can go and find it or find results for track cycling, but being able to watch it, it's always very, very cool to get to see it in motion, because it is a lot going on just constantly.
Yeah. Find a velodrome in Missouri.
Exactly.
Good luck.
Yeah. So I like when they, when they've got the different every lap, there's also the sprint for every.
Yeah, please explain to the audience, if they don't know, the confusing rules that are the Omnium.
Well, there's like yeah, no. I mean, I do know that there's like this, there's like the scratch, the tempo, and then the something after that. I don't really like it's really no, I can't explain that. There'll be a link in the show notes, I'm sure I'll find something, but
it's so confusing.
It's not.
Basically, it's a race that's not a race because it's about points accrued during the race.
Throughout the race, right? So just because you like make it first across, right? So the scratch, the first start one, the scratch is pretty simple. The first one across the line wins after a certain number of a distance. It's usually like 10. I think it's like 10K. But
yeah, I can't remember. It's some number of laps. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. So it's.
Oh, that's true.
It's distance for scratch, because after
yeah.
You get points for lapping people, the group, in addition to the sprint races that are every other lap, in addition to whoever crosses the line first. So you.
It's like 100-lap race.
Yes. So you've got to lap people to earn points. So that's what I love about this, because there is incentive for everybody to basically go as fast as they possibly can, because you don't want to be lapped, and you're trying to lap other people, and you don't want the person behind you to lap you because you know that they just earned a point that you didn't earn. You've got to lap somebody else, which means it's very yeah.
It's so confusing. I was watching that too, and good old Christian Vandeveld was up there trying to explain to me the rules, and I was like, whatever you say, buddy.
Yeah. I'll cheer when everybody else is. Okay, let's do this. And I do. It's one of those of it's so foreign that I literally don't really know who's in the lead a good portion of the time. But it's still a lot of fun to watch.
Yes. So segue to my number 3, track cycling.
Oh, really?
But I specifically put the Keirin.
Okay.
With a shout out to the Madison, because what the heck is that even about? Like, that's crazy. That's just like, yes, I would like to crash my bicycle today. That's what the Madison is. But I like the Keirin because it's very straightforward. It's like the pursuit is fine, but it's not like the most riveting to watch because you're kind of like racing the clock, whatever. So it's cool. I like that. And for all the same reasons that you mentioned, like track cycling is not a thing that is available to watch ever here for me. So I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
But the Keirin is the most straightforward because it's just like, here are like 6 to 8 people. They are going to race as fast as possible for 3 laps. Go. Like, done. So they get led out by a little motorcycle, which is kind of rad, or an e-bike. This time's an e-bike, I think. Mm-hmm. So they go around. They just follow an e-bike for 3 laps, and they build up speed. And they're like, we're talking fast. We're going like 40K plus, right? And then the e-bike dips down, and for the last 3 laps, it's just whoever gets to the line first go. Yep. And it is, oh man, it's just like a fast, furious sprint to the finish, and it is crazy. So I really liked that one. Just straightforward. We're on the track. We are racing. Go. But with a special shout out to the Madison, because I have never seen that before. Yeah. Ever. And what the Madison race is you have a partner. And so is it every lap, every other? I don't know. But you're switching who is racing.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So one person is racing around as fast as they can. The other person is doing a resting lap. When you get up to your partner, you grab their hand and you do this like bizarre slingshot motion. Yeah. So you come up to them. They like you. So it's really bizarre to watch. So the person, let's pretend there's 2 cyclists, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the right is coming up like full speed. They grab the person's hand. They kind of like go ahead of them and then rocket them forward in this weird like handshake slingshot motion and launch them to build up speed for them to keep spinning around the track. But like, this is obviously chaos time. So when I watched whatever one I watched, there was just like people crashing into each other everywhere. It was like a disaster. I was like, what is happening? It was nuts.
Why are you touching? Stop.
Yeah, I didn't. Holy cow, what in the world? But cool. I like the track. My favorite track cycling event has been the Keirin because I can understand that one. Yes. Straightforward, full on sprint to the line.
Not quite so. Yeah.
So that was my number 3. Track cycling, specifically Keirin.
Okay.
Aaron?
3.
So I'll go with kind of what Brandon talked about with like the canoeing and like kayaking events. There was one. I think if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's called Flatwater canoeing and kayaking. So there's the one that caught me kind of not like off guard, but like I was transfixed on it and like I had to watch it. Where they were in kayaks, and it was a single event, and they just lined up, and then it was kind of cool because they lined them up, and there was like a little like underwater like track system thing that like held them into place, and then the gate drops, and then they just book it. That was fun to watch. There was it was just like something that getting to watch, like, I didn't watch kayaking and whatever on any given day, but like just watching kind of what Brandon said, like just the tenacity that these people have, and it's like, whoa, this dude is booking it. I want to do that, and kind of thing.
Yeah, right. I know. I get it.
Like where you watch it and you're like, I want to do that now. Like I can totally get me in there, coach. Kind of ordeal. So that was fun, just to like get a chance to watch and experience that. Like even though it was literally just like, people in kayaks drag racing, like it felt much more to that because there was, and like there was, watching within like 5 seconds, I already had like, a favorite person of who I wanted to keep watching, and like, dude, I'm going for this country. I want this country to win, and I don't know. It was just. I'm basing a lot of these off of just like funness of like things that like I could, watch on a given basis. The last one, meh, but like this one, I could sit and watch this for, a good chunk of time, because like they would just, sitting there calmly floating, paddling around, doing, kayaky things, and then just a little gate flipper thing drops, and then they're just gone. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. Because I changed the channel like right when they were just getting set up, and I was like, okay, so what are we doing here? What event is this? Why are they doing this way? That's strange. And then and they're off. I was like, whoa, not expecting that. Watch more, please. So I got a kick out of it because we're in the little gym just watching flipping through the channels, because they had like 6 different Olympic things going on. It's like, oh, you could watch this on this channel, or you could watch this on this channel. I was like, all right, whatever. And then like I started watching it, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I picked this channel. This is really cool. So I believe it's called Flatwater Racing, but if it's not, then I will just go with kayak drag racing.
I like that. That's a good name
for the event in question.
Very nice.
My number 3 is definitely a sport that I could not see myself doing, which makes me more in awe of the people who do it, and that is sport climbing. I love that it is extremely technical, but also there is that timed aspect of like, how far can they get through these sets of maneuvers and along the course in a certain amount of time, which scores points to people. So it's not just speed climbing, but they do factor in time in the course that you're doing, and then they have you have to finish it within a certain amount of time, so it's it's a little constrained as well. Heights terrify me. I've tried climbing. It's insanely difficult. I could never do anything a tenth of what these people are capable of doing. And I'm just fascinated by the strategy that it takes, plus the sheer strength that each of these individual people have in order to implement and execute these different things. That I don't really, that makes it really, really unique and just, for me, fascinating.
Yeah, no, pretty good. Again, segueing into my number 2, sport climbing.
Oh. Oh man!
I like that it was. I was fascinated because this is the first Olympics it's been in.
Yeah.
Right, it's like the inaugural event, and so I was interested. I knew that this was a thing that you could do. I've only ever seen the speed climbing part of this in like random things, right? Yeah. But the fact that there is a speed climbing, a bouldering, and a lead climbing section, really makes it interesting. Because these people competing together, and a lot of them are really, really good at one of those things, and then like pretty good, like just normal good at the other 2. So like there's this big like interesting thing that happens. Like, okay, well this guy's like he's a lead specialist, but he's only okay at bouldering. Mm-hmm. So like and the way that they calculate the points, like how you say. And like the one that I really enjoyed watching the most was the bouldering one, because like, what? Some of those boulder problems they were solving is like, how did what?
How did you?
And they were real hard too, because some of them like only like one person solved. Like,
yeah.
Whoa. And just watching them go through that kind of strategy and process and seeing them, planning out and just some of the bouldering moves that they're doing. Super impressive. So like, yeah, sport climbing is my number 2 for sure.
Cool. Keirin, on to yours.
Well, it's a toss up. It's one of them is very like traditionally Olympics, because whenever you think of Olympics, it's either like a track or a swimming sport. You don't really think a lot of like the outside kind of things. And so I am going to go with, to me, this one's just like fascinating to watch. Like I have no idea how they score. I have no idea like what anything is based off of. I don't have like a rubric to say like, oh, hey, this is this, because it's synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
It is just like trying to walk and like copycat somebody is impossible for me anyways. And so trying to put that into water, or like just like the synchronized diving, like that in itself is like, hey, I have to do this amount of things in this amount of time before I hit the water. Oh, and I have to do it with someone else. So synchronize anything is just like mesmerizing. I don't know how they score, because one part's like, oh, it's about the splash, or they have to splash at the same time and things like that. I get it, but just watching it, they're in sync from the moment they walk out of the locker room to like the moment they hit the water, and it's like, how? Like I don't get it. How does that happen? So synchronized anything to me is my number 2.
Okay.
Very nice.
Nice. Well, sounds like we're all going to get a little bit wet here. Because my number 2 is it's not and they've rebranded, by the way, they've rebranded it from synchronized to artistic swimming. And I will say that, just on a side note, we watched that and yeah, we were all enthralled by it, especially Lillian and Noah, because they've been swimming a lot this summer, and just sitting there being like, how are they doing that? How are they going? They're upside down and they're moving up and they're not touching the bottom, and they're like doing these things that are like defying physics, because they're like lifting people. We watched the Russian routine, and they all went underwater, and then they lifted somebody up on their feet. They went up. They were going up with their feet up, and there was a person sitting on the person's feet. And I don't know how you do that and not die. So anyway,
yeah,
right.
Or they're just like in there, and one of them would just like leap out of the water like a fish. You're like, how do you physically do that? Like, I don't...
yeah, literally leaping. So I that didn't quite make my list. But the one that did was another first for, we've mentioned sport climbing, and we've mentioned the skating as being kind of the first for these Olympics. Another one that made it first for the Olympics was the mixed medley relay swimming. And
oh yeah,
I really enjoyed this. And that's because the mixed medley, you have 4 swimmers, 2 men, 2 women, and they have to do one of 4 strokes: the backstroke, breaststroke, butterfly, and the freestyle. And it's fascinating. I like that it's men and women on the same team, and I love anything that's a relay. Like I really like relays, and it seems to be like that's where a lot of the teams, it's a team sport, but they're relying on individual, like really heavily on individual strength.
Yeah.
And this especially because usually in relays, they're like, who's the closer? Who's the one that's going to finish strong? But it's also who's the best at each one of these things that can also finish strong, and who's also the closer, who's going to, the fastest reaction time. So it really brought together a lot of strengths for the people. And it was just, again, I love these things where it's like, you don't see that combination of things in one place. And it was really fun to watch.
Nice. All right. So
Okay, so
this is number
what?
1.
let's
number one.
Yeah, recap what you've done up to this point, and then take us into one.
All right. So so far, I had at 5 the triathlon, specifically Triathlon Relay. Again, relays are cool. We've learned. Then number 4, I had paddling events, the rowing and the kayaking, canoeing, the flatwater stuff. 3, I had track cycling, specifically the Keirin. And then number 2, I had sport climbing. And number 1, my number 1 favorite thing to watch this year, it has been indoor volleyball.
Oh, very nice.
Specifically, the women's indoor volleyball. They're playing for the gold medal on Sunday. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I just watched one match, and I've watched it before, right? Indoor volleyball is a sport that, like, it's weird because, like, in, like, every high school in the land, you have basketball, baseball, softball, sometimes football, and volleyball. And then, like, in the United States, volleyball kind of disappears.
Yeah.
Right? You play volleyball in college, and then it goes away. It's not a thing. Like, indoor volleyball is not a thing at the professional level, really, in the United States that I'm aware of. I could be mistaken, but, like, all of these ladies, they play in, like, Turkey and Japan and China and, like, Korea, whatever, South Korea, and, like, they're so good. And the men too. There's men's indoor volleyball. There's definitely no men's indoor volleyball in the US, like, ever. Like, that's not a thing that's around. So watching, like, indoor volleyball at this level is so impressive, right? Like, it's amazing. Like, both men and women. And, some of the, like, some of these dudes are like 6'9". They're all playing volleyball. You're like, what the heck? Holy cow, this is terrifying. Like, but just the way that many people play together, and, like, volleyball's cool to watch anyway. Like, I watch high school volleyball sometimes. It's cool. It's fine. But, like, this is, like, professional level volleyball, and it is amazing. Like, it's so good. Like, just everything about it. It's just, like, the speed these people are serving. Holy cow. The precision they have, like, their ability to jump and hit these blocks. Some of these blocks are insane. Like, holy cow. So I've really been sucked into watching the women's volleyball team, especially because they're, like I said, they've been doing, like, super good. They're playing in the gold medal match against Brazil, I believe. I do love a tournament. So, like, you kind of get into, like, oh, I got to watch this team because we're going to play them next. So I got to, I want to see, like, who their players are, right? You get that vibe going on. So, like, both men's and women's indoor volleyball, I've just been, like, really fascinated. Again, you're not exposed to it really that much in the United States at this level, right? You see college volleyball, and they're pretty good, but these ladies, holy cow, man, they're great. So I've really, and the men too, don't get me wrong, all the dudes out there playing volleyball in the Olympics, that is some next level stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But just me specifically, I've been really into the U.S. women's national team indoor volleyball. So that's my number one. Let's go, ladies. Let's go.
Very good. Good. Okay. Airman.
I've been having to be real quiet because I caught the match that I stayed up. I was, like, going to go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was, like, flipping channels before I went to bed, and their game just started. I was like, well, guess I'm not going to bed now.
Well, anyway.
So I'm, like, watching them play, and I'm like, yes, let's go. All right.
Golf.
Yeah, everyone's, like, asleep, and I'm like, yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's my number one. Indoor volleyball, specifically U.S. Women's National Team. Let's go, ladies.
Gotcha.
You're amazing.
Okay, Airman, give us your
So for me, like I've seen the sport before, and every time I watched it, I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, you know, it's kind of like that mystique of like, oh, this is in the Olympics. You know, like you know of it, like you know it exists, but you've never like really paid attention to it. My number one spot is going to go to water polo. It is
nice.
Such a weird sport. And like when I say that, I'm not talking like it's fun to watch. It's really cool, but it's also like a lot more complicated than I imagined. Like there's a lot more rules to it, and like, I mean, it has to be safe like that because you know you have the possibility of I don't know, drowning.
Yeah, literally dying.
Literally dying, and so it's that, but like. There's a lot more rules to it than I anticipated. There was a lot more to it, and it's a lot more like, you know, you have to be an athlete to play because you are treading water the entire time. You are swimming back and forth. You're also throwing a ball, and you're also trying to. And this is the part that got me. You're trying to like physically fight off somebody. Because we were watching it and like these people go ham on each other. Like it is like they have like the above water view and then they have like cameras like in water and it's like
underwater camera shots are crazy.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
And it's like look at, you know, what this person did, and it literally shows someone like punching people underwater or kicking. And like when they call a timeout and they get out of the water and they're just bruised, and it's like, oh, water polo is a lot more violent than I thought it was. And like just watching that, we watched it was the Hungary and Croatia game play, and Croatia lost, but I was cheering for them the whole time because they were the underdog. And it like just the way they had to like bend and twist their arm just to throw, it looked like a big medicine ball, just to try to score. And like there's a lot more strategy to it than I thought of. Just like, hey, run down or swim down and throw this in there. All right, good job. Swim back. Like there's a lot more strategy to it. There's a lot more moving pieces to it than I thought. And it like, I need to pay attention to it more just because of the sheer fact of how like fun it was to watch. Again, it was one of those sports where like I watched it once, and if I get a chance to go somewhere and watch it, I'm going to go watch it.
Yeah, that's a crazy sport. It's so intense. Man, I don't. Right, Colin.
So my top 4 so far were fencing, specifically the saber.
Oh, I didn't go back. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Track cycling, the omnium, sport climbing, swimming, specifically the mixed relay relay. And I'm going to stay in the pool, and it's probably a pretty boring pick, but this is something I will always watch and am constantly fascinated by, and just continually mesmerized, and predictably I will watch it as much as I can. It's the 10-meter platform diving. I don't know.
Nice.
I think it's because it's insanely simple concept. Jump off from this high thing and don't make a big splash. But it's the interim stuff, right? where all of a sudden everything in between just adds up and compounds of like, if the launch is wrong, if the twist is wrong, it all affects the entry. And it's one of those things of like very immediately you as the viewer, I guess if you're paying attention enough, like you can see the difference between divers by their entry, and it's very apparent. And it's also just like kind of therapeutic to watch people plunge meters down while they twist and turn and then splash. And then the underwater camera is always a lot of fun. I have always enjoyed watching diving, and it continues to be something that I can have on and just I'll be drawn to it time and time again.
Very nice.
So
yeah, it's a fun one too.
Yeah, and it's one that doesn't take a lot of like intense interest. It's like there's not a lot of anxiety inducing. You know, like the Omnium is something where like your heart's in your throat as you're watching people race around, and the sport climbing too as they're racing up and down. It's like it's a much more like nice. Like I don't know, like there's not quite so like super mega intense.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Right.
Okay. So we can we're running a little long on time here, but we can go back through, and if you've got like maybe two more that you want that didn't quite make the list, we can throw those out.
Okay, so just fast the other because I made a short list. Okay. So the only ones on my short list that I couldn't figure out where to put them, and so one of them was water polo, and just because this year I haven't watched it as much. Normally I get more into it, but this year for whatever reason I just haven't watched it. I don't know if I missed it or whatever. So water polo was on my short list. Two others on my short list was the whitewater kayaking.
Ooh, yeah,
that one's really fun. It just didn't. Although I thought the other ones were more exciting this year, but I do like the whitewater kayaking, like the where you go through the little slalom stuff. That one's really fun. And then the last one, weirdly, at the very beginning, I was watching it a lot. Was the archery. I don't know why I find Olympic archery so fascinating.
Yeah,
it's just two people standing there not speaking at all, shooting a bow, but like it's like the distance and just how incredibly accurate and good they are at that is just like it's impressive to watch. And it is kind of nailed by her because they are so evenly matched a lot of times. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. He's got to get the 9 this time. He just has to. Otherwise, you kind of, it starts ramping up when you get further into the set. And you're just like, ugh. So that was my, the ones that didn't make my top 5 would have been water polo, the whitewater kayaking, and the archery.
Okay.
I would probably have to say like professional hurdles is like when you get to the track event. Professional hurdles is that series hasn't been on yet, right?
I think it might have been. Yeah. They've been. It's hard because this week has been all track stuff, and it's just like randomly on.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to find a.
I haven't got a chance to watch it this year, but I know in the past, just watching like professional athletes, because when I did hurdles, like I would move pretty fast, but it is taken to such a level degree of like competitive speed. Oh, and trying not to hit your shin on this metal thing. So as on a professional level, that is such a cool experience to watch. So that's one, and then I would probably have to say, like beach volleyball.
Oh yeah.
Like playing volleyball. I did college. Going out there and like do this. Like it is such a back and forth. It is such like a physical thing, and plus those ladies like they got hops for days. They can just like let me just move an inch and then like boom, I'm 7 feet off the ground. Like whoa, wait a second here. So that to me is like really fun to watch, just because like you don't expect it, like whatever, and then they're like boom, hops for days. And I guess those are kind of my 2 that I would add.
Nice. I guess I would just say that like for me also, just real quick, that like track is kind of like the quintessential Summer Olympics experience. So I would just like watch. I don't have a specific one. I just will like watch all of it. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, track and field stuff. Here it is. I like the races the most, but like all the other stuff is really fun to watch. But it didn't make my list this year just because it's like I was just kind of watch it. It's in the background. It's cool and exciting, but it didn't draw me in as much as the other stuff. Except for Allison. Good job, Allison. You're amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just looking over our list, track and no track and field things made it into our top 5, made it on Aaron's short list. Also, no racket sports made it into any of our.
I didn't watch any of them. I guess I missed them. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't see them this year.
No, nobody brought up equestrian, which I'm very shocked about.
I did watch some of that. It's kind of cool.
We watched some with the with the kids. Just horse.
Susan and I decided that the horses should definitely get medals. Like, I don't know what that's about. Like, come on.
Like, great.
They get the wreath and stuff when they win the Kentucky Derby. Give those horses a medal, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
My short list includes everything gymnastics. Again, for me, it's one of those like totally quintessential. It's like track and field and gymnastics are to me what like embody Summer Olympics. So, but specifically, I really like when the men are on the rings. I don't know why. I think it's just such a bizarre like torture chamber event to see on television. Of like, what? Like, how? Like, what's going on here? Like, why is he suspended? Like, it's just one of those things of like, it's weird. Like, it's one of those just really kind of weird, obscure things that's like, okay, but it's also really awesome. I also had on my list artistic swimming because, again, I'm just fascinated by them. I just didn't get to watch it a whole lot this year, and haven't really kept up with it. It's one of those things that's kind of always on the periphery. And then also on my short list is sailing, just because. Why not? Like, why not go sail a boat and then compete, race people? Like, it just seems like something that would be insanely fun to do.
I didn't see that at all this year either, and I wanted to watch it. I just missed it too. I guess I didn't know what it was about.
Yeah, we were watching it with the kids, and again, I was like, oh yeah, like this is also really cool.
Oh yeah, it is really cool to watch, but like, yeah, I missed that one.
So sweet. I enjoyed this immensely. Enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
Very good. I am late tired.
Yeah, same. So we'll get
okay. I appreciate all that, and we will be back again next time.
All right, more top 5 lists coming soon.
We'll find to an earbud near you. Okay, very good.
Boom.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.